All right. Well, Devin, we're going to end this video game segment by just really quickly going over our favorite games that we played in 2024. These aren't necessarily games that came out this year. They could have come out in early years. I think this is usually called new to me games. So they're new to you, but not necessarily to everybody else. I have a bunch of honorable mentions, and Devin does as well before we hop into the top 10. So I guess just really quick, Devin, I'll go back to the screen and we'll just pull each one of them up, even though some of them will only be for a second or two. So feel free to send those over. But first up, honorable mention for me, I finished Fez this year, which is an excellent puzzle game that I started probably 8 years ago and really enjoyed back then. And the soundtrack has been on my shuffle list for a long time. It's a really great game. I think the developer, Phil Fish or whatever his name is, has kind of gotten some hate, and I don't even fully know why. But it is an excellent puzzle game. Just can't recommend it enough. So honorable mention there from me.
Should we go through all your honorable mentions and then mine? Or
sure.
Back and forth?
Whichever way. What do you think?
Well, this is mine.
Let's go back and forth. That'll be more enthusiastic, or people don't have to listen to me the whole time or something,
We have a bunch of honorable mentions, but one of mine would definitely be Returnal. I have not beat this game yet, but we streamed it a couple months back, and
so good.
It's so good. The movement ends up being so good, and it's so fast and so intense, and there's music and lights, and just very cool upgrade system. The whole game setup is just fantastic, in my opinion.
And as soon as you get to the third and fourth boss, I think the game will elevate, in your opinion, because I think they're excellent. But yeah, love that game. That's one of the platinums I have. Very tough platinum. Okay, my next one, another puzzle game. I love puzzle games, lots of indie ones, is Baba Is You. Another one I started a long time ago and then got way further this year than I ever have. This is one where you can manipulate the sentences on the screen, and so they change the rules and the logic for the entire level you're trying to solve. Very inventive and cool. Just great. If you like puzzle games, it's so unique. Just try it. It's awesome. All right, next up for Devin is a classic, or a sequel to a classic, which is also.
But it was new to me.
Yep.
I don't think I'd ever played this before.
Yeah.
I played BioShock 2, which in this game you are a big daddy.
Which is such a cool twist.
Yeah, very unique. In the first game, I don't even remember who you were. Daryl, just some guy. I don't know.
Daryl from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
What's that big daddy doing?
But this game was cool. For being an older game, super unique, funny builds.
Yeah.
We made all these builds for freezing people or starting them on fire or super speed or just melee or explosive. Fun game. Amazing aesthetic, in my opinion. Kind of horror in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But BioShock 2 is definitely on that list for me.
All right, my next honorable mention is Braid Anniversary Edition. This is the new 4K pretty version of Braid that has a bunch of extra added levels and a developer commentary. One of the most well-loved and earliest puzzle games that ever came to Xbox Live Arcade. And for whatever reason, this game has not sold well. I don't know why, because it's a beautiful 4K remake with extra content. It's on sale right now for $5, I'm pretty sure. Buy it. It's so good. You have to like puzzle games because you have to think in reverse and do tricky puzzles, but it's really good. This one's definitely a Devin game here.
This is definitely a Devin game, and I was slightly underwhelmed with this game, but since it was another dark anthology, whatever it is, this was in the world of Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah.
This game had a bunch of bugs, super weird. You just get stuck on stairs, and then it was Stair Simulator, which was cool. And that's why these reviews are mixed, probably.
Yeah.
But overall, funny games. My one gripe would be that when you make a decision in these games, you have no idea what the outcome is going to be
Yeah.
ever. And so you really can't be strategic, even
Oh,
if you think I should jump this 2 foot gap, because in every scenario in real life I could jump it, but this character's not going to be able to.
and then your character might die or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. But interesting horror game. I think we finished it. I don't remember.
I think you did. Yeah. All right, next up for me, Spelunky and Spelunky 2 are some of my very favorite games of all time. And the next game from the creator of Spelunky is UFO 50. I think he had a partner and a team that helped him. And this game is so inventive and cool. I think it would be on my top 10 just if I had played more of it. There's so much game here. It's 50 games that like look like they could have been on an NES or Super Nintendo. And each game is different and unique and like a complete kind of experience, but there are like threads of like story that go between them, and it's just really cool. UFO 50 is just awesome. So love that one. It deserves lots of love. Really like this next one, Devin. I'm glad you tried it this year.
This game is so weird. This is called Cult of the Lamb. Very strange. One downside for me is survival games sometimes destroy my brain. I'm like, well, I didn't know Jeff hadn't eaten, and now he's dead.
Jeff's dead.
So everything needs to be fed. They need their spirituality and their church meetings and all this stuff. And there's another side of the game where it's kind of like Hades. You're going kind of top down, slaying shotties with swords and super cool art.
Love the art. So cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Really, really fun, but this game just destroys you if you're not on constant upkeep of all your characters. And you can name your cults whatever you want, and it can get epic.
That is true. Very true. Yeah, that's a fun one. It didn't have co-op when I played it, but I'm glad they patched that in.
We named our cult the Riverton Silverwolves.
Oh, that's great.
And the names were a little less family friendly than I would have liked.
That's funny. I played a few Metroidvanias this year that I really liked, and huge shout out to this one, Bo Path of the Teal Lotus. It probably would have been my favorite one of the year. There were just so many good ones this year. If one other one in particular had not come out, I really like that this one incentivizes you to stay in the air, which is such a different feel to most of the others. So I love how it differentiates itself that way. Where like I think you get like your dodge back by doing these like air attacks, and so you're just incentivized to stay in the air, and it's a big departure from like Hollow Knight, where eventually after your double jump and your dash, you've got to land.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
You don't have to. You could stay up almost forever if you're in a fight. It's very cool, very pretty art.
Awesome.
It deserves a lot of love. So like that one a lot.
I played Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We're still on honorable mentions, by the way. This game was super cool. The combat was way fun. Yeah. You got to choose your lightsaber color, so obviously we went with yellow or orange because it's the best. And cool story.
Yeah.
There's a lot to this game.
Lots of twists and turns in that story. I loved the story.
Yeah, 4 or 5 different stances. I had a lightsaber and a blaster. I was like Han Solo. Mm. Yeah, that game.
I hope that they end that trilogy really well, because the first game was good. This one, I would say, is excellent. Great to excellent.
Yeah, I don't even know which number this one is.
That one's number 2.
I played number 2. Mm-hmm. Just like BioShock 2, just skipped the first one.
I think you did play most of the first one a while ago. All right, I really like puzzle games. This is a kind of simple puzzle game from this cool puzzle game company that makes just other awesome puzzle games. They made, what else they make? They make the golf one, Golf Peaks, I think. Anyways, I really like this train one called Railbound. You have to get your trains to the train station, and it just continually adds new things. I need to get them there in a certain order, and you can only use a certain number of train tracks. And there eventually are switches and things you have to hit. I love a good puzzle game. This one is hard. Later on, at least. The earlier levels aren't too bad. But once there's switches flipping all the time. It really is hard. But I like the cute aesthetic. It's easy to play on, again, the Rogue Ally with the touchscreen because you can just move the pieces around with your finger. So shout out to Railbound. It's a fun puzzle game.
Ooh, this is an interesting one. Hogwarts Legacy. It was a fun game. Surprisingly, for a Harry Potter game, it had decent combat and difficult moments. I actually died in the game.
Yeah.
A few times. Fun games. Pretty thorough platinum to this game.
Almost annoying in
Yeah.
that you have to do all 4 classes.
Yeah, kind of an annoying platinum, but basically, besides the 4 classes things,
You can do it all.
we fully platinumed it.
Yeah.
We found everything. We saw everything. Fun game. If you're a Harry Potter fan, honestly, it's fantastic. I hope the next one's even better.
Yeah, I hope so too.
But it's not the best game ever made.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
It was very good.
Yeah, 7.5 for David. But I played it last year. All right, are we still in honorable mentions? We still are. We got a bunch of honorable mentions. Want to give a shout out to Pacific Drive. It came out earlier in the year, and what a unique and cool game. My favorite part of it is you take this car out on all these runs, and there's all these things on the runs trying to hurt you in your car, and then you find these like crystals, and once you have enough power, this like teleportation beam pops out way in the distance, and it's a race to get there before like this big storm comes in and destroys you. And that part of each level is the most fun because you're just like booking through the forest and like jumping down stuff, trying to teleport into this beam of light before these weird aliens and saws and all kinds of crap destroy your car. That moment was very, very fun. The kind of the crafting survival portion of the game where like you're constantly upgrading your car and you have to repair it and like get out of your car and go into buildings to get new materials and stuff wasn't as exciting as those parts to me, but I would like to get back to it and see it through. But did such a high zooming through the woods. So Pacific Drive, honorable mention for me.
Yeah, that game made me a little dizzy the first time I played it, and then also it was like a maintenance simulator for me. I was like, okay, I need plastic. Let's go see if we can find plastic so we can.
I think they've fixed the frame rate a bit too, so it's a bit smoother now.
But, Fallout 76 is another one of mine. I got made fun of a lot for playing this game because people don't like to have fun in cooperative modes. Maybe it's not as good as the other Fallout games. I don't know enough. But I had a blast playing this. It was fun that I could bring a friend into my party, which none of the others could. And we were bouncing on cows. Like the cows were bouncy. Trying to get on these like rooftops and super unique. I joined and instantly went to end game lobbies and we were like fighting end game monsters, which instantly gave me end game loot. So just very arcade-ish.
Yeah, very zany.
Game. Very zany. Yeah. It was fun though. I enjoyed it.
Cool. I do like the quirkiness of that one.
Sorry, these links take us just a
you're
brief
fine.
second.
Next up for me is an indie game I want to finish. It's got a lot of content. I really like the pixel art and the vibe of this one. It's Dave the Diver. You play as this diver dude and you dive during the day and you get like fish and stuff, and then at night you sell that fish in a sushi restaurant and you do some mini games to like make sure that your customers don't wait too long before they get their fish, and then you like pour drinks and you have to like let go of the button at the perfect height and you get a better tip if you get it to the right height and stuff. It's really fun and just has some fun humor and stuff. Has a Godzilla expansion and just fun stuff. It's quirky and fun. Dave the Diver's great.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah, really is. I want to get back to it.
All right, we got 3 more honorable mentions. So my second to last one is Cyberpunk 2077. I enjoyed this game. I didn't get to dive too deeply into this game.
You did finish it though, right?
Yes. We finished it and everybody told me I got the dumbest ending. I'm like, well, you were telling me what to do the whole game. No, the game was cool. It can be very dirty at times. But cool game, beautiful. Cyberpunk aesthetic is
cool,
top notch. The combat felt fun. It was fun shooting the guns and going to the different places, and that's all I remember. So
Keanu Reeves in there.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. Was it him or was it Shadow?
Oh yeah, it
And
was Shadow.
Keanu and Idris Elba in the expansion, and Idris
Oh.
Elba is Knuckles. So they're just reuniting in Sonic and this game. There you go. Okay, my last honorable mention goes to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is another Metroidvania game that's really it's really great. Has like a super. You can tell that this one has a much higher budget than most like indie Metroidvania games. It's very pretty. The boss fights are very impressive. With like one of them is a big snake, and he's like going forwards and backwards like through the fight while you're fighting him, and really really cool. Just yeah, really love it. I really like the art style. I like Prince of Persia a lot, so kind of had that nostalgia going into. Last one.
Yes, my last mention is God of War Ragnarok. And don't come at me because this didn't make my top 10. I don't like these games as much as y'all like these games. Okay, it was good. I thought it was good. One thing I loved about this game is you can make it extremely difficult if you want. Tons of difficulty levels, and it can be extremely brutal. Beautiful graphics.
Oh yeah.
Way fun to look at. I don't know why I don't vibe with it as much as some. Maybe I just need to give it more of a chance. Sometimes there was a ton of repetition, and if you're on too high of a difficulty, it's like, man, I just spent 3 minutes killing a basic ad.
Yeah. Yeah, you did play on I think the highest difficulty.
maybe that's what ruined it a little
brutal.
Bit for me. But that is going to be my last honorable mention.
All right, and that brings us to the actual top 10 list. So for my number 10 game that I played this year in 2024 is gonna be a very popular multiplayer one, Helldivers 2. I think this was a really fun few months when this game came out where everyone was playing it and just laughing at funny videos of like there was that one viral video of like, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? I'm good. I just can't wait to get back to see my mom. And then like the guy like gets blown up by an alien and the other guy's like, no. Just has those funny moments. It has like that Predator kind of silly vibe with Starship Troopers as well, and it's just so fun. You run around, you accidentally blow your friend up with a grenade, and nobody cares. So really love Helldivers 2. It deserves lots of love. I want to play the new update because they have the new enemy race.
Yeah, right.
So I want to try that out. Haven't done that yet. That's my number 10.
Number 10 for me, I guess this is going to be a top 20 list since we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
But I played all 3 Mass Effects back to back to back.
You did.
And it was fun because the characters pass over to the other games, at least most of them.
Yeah.
And
your choices follow
each game is different. The way it handles, the input lag, the aesthetic, the heads-up display.
Input.
Just different things. I had a lot of fun with these games. They're massive.
Would you say they're mass effective?
They're mass effective, yeah. That is number 10 for me. I don't hardly remember. My memory's bad, so I think I had a good time.
I have never played those. I feel like I missed the boat, and I don't know if I... It's a big time investment. They're long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, number 9 for me. Won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. I really did love Astrobot this year. It's very inventive, kind of just a game with nostalgia all over the place. You're always finding those other bots. You're like, hey, there's Crash Bandicoot or that Ape Escape dude. And for a minute you play as Nathan Drake and whatever else. Very, very pretty and beautiful. I'm glad that this game exists because I do think that PlayStation needs like a kid-friendly like game franchise. And this one is kid-friendly, but also has like good platforming and like some difficult areas, kind of with that Mario vibe of like you can finish the game if you're a kid and just get through like the main quest, but if you want to get everything, we're gonna test you a bit, and I like that balance. So Astrobot's really great. Just you have a smile the whole time you're playing it. It's just colorful, beautiful, and just fun.
Well, it's probably eye-opening to a lot of people who are used to more Nintendo games when you put a child game on a very, very powerful
Yeah,
console.
so pretty looking.
It can blow your mind.
Wish Mario looked like that. Switch 2, baby.
Switch 2, baby.
Probably not. Switch 2 is not going to be that. All right, next up, what do we got here?
Number 9 for me is Marvel Spider-Man 2. This game was so fun. We hung out at the carnival for a while, rode all the rides. We rode a roller coaster. The combat is super fun and complex.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, very, very difficult. Something that I couldn't decide if I loved is how you switch between Miles and Peter.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so focused on a skill tree, and now I have to look at an entire separate skill tree.
I think they handled it pretty well, where it didn't feel too jarring, but every once in a while I was like, I don't want to switch right now.
Yeah, and they had skills that like went toward both of them, and that's what I put a lot of points in.
Right.
But that is what, number 8, 9 for me? 8 for me?
Something.
It's number something.
Venom's my favorite Spider-Man villain, so I think that's a fun one for that reason. All right, next up, big game this year, Black Myth Wukong for me. Is this my number 8?
Probably.
I really liked it. I have not finished it fully. It's very long and pretty difficult at parts. So I need to get back to it and finish it. But I was very surprised by this game. I wanted it to be like good and to maybe hold a candle to some of the to Sekiro and some of the other Souls-like games that we really love. And I'm glad that this game is very different than like Sekiro and Bloodborne and Elden Ring. It's very different, and that's much more arcadey, but at the same time still has a lot of that difficulty, especially some of those side bosses. I remember you fighting that lightning dude on that mountainside
oh my goodness,
65 times.
Still have nightmares.
Yeah. Very cool that the game is pretty long. I mean, you fight like it's basically a boss fight in the video game. You fight a new boss like every 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of them. I would say 50 plus, probably. I don't know for sure.
It's such a cool game.
But some of them are very, very awesome. Cool aesthetic, very pretty animations. Might just be too hard for me, but I just need to try it some more.
My number 8 we'll get through really quick because we've talked about it for the last 6 weeks on this podcast. But that is Vampire Survivors. It's hilarious. It is the easiest game to play with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Change my mind. It really just is. You can play it with one hand and just take a brief look at some of the perks and what build you might want to go for in a game, and then you just have fun. And it's simple. If you die, you just go back in as another thing, and then you make an even cooler build.
Yeah.
Cool progression system, a little bit confusing at times.
Yeah.
We've had to use Google to help us a little bit with upgrades and whatnot and remembering certain things, but Vampire Survivors is super, super cool for $5 at your local Walmart.
Yeah. And it's probably, you'd have to buy a gift card at Walmart. I don't think it's on a disc or anything, but yeah, excellent game. All right, next up for me, I think this is my number 7, if I'm not mistaken, is Crow Country. I like horror games. I'm a little bit more of a wuss than Devin for sure. And so this one was like just my speed.
Yeah.
It's like not too scary, but it's a little bit creepy. And it's basically like if you made Resident Evil 1 or maybe even 2, but made it a little bit more modern where like the controls aren't quite as bad, and it's a little simpler to like get around places. The map's like a little bit more forgiving and things like that. But also, a little bit tough. You take damage pretty easily. The puzzles are a little tricky to solve at times. You have to put things in weird places in order to like solve like this duck or this swan head puzzle. You had to get this really weird piece. Anyway, so it has those retro kind of horror game tropes as well. And I really enjoyed it. It's probably like 8 to 10 hours. And I think it was that's like the length I want that kind of game to be. So
I thought you platinumed that game.
I think I was very close, but I needed to oh yeah, there is one tricky trophy in that you have to get an S rank.
Oh, right.
Which
One
you
of those
can't take damage, basically. But really like it. That was my number 7, Crow Country.
That's such a silly thing to put as a platinum.
I
Anyways,
agree.
number 7 for me, Dragon's Dogma 2. I had a ton of fun playing this game. Super weird, a little bit janky at times. There were times where I was just running for 20 minutes from like 40 enemies behind me in the dark, trying because there was just no way to beat them.
The nighttime mechanic was kind of weird. Where, like, you just
gosh.
can't. You have to escape. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just dead at night. But they gave early access for character customization. I have to touch on this because I made one of the most attractive characters that you've ever seen in a video game. If you'd like to see it, DM me and put it down below.
Or just go to Devin's Twitch, Player 4.
Oh, it's probably in there. Did I make a video on that?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know either. But Dragon's Dogma, funny. It had a lot of issues. Not a lot of issues, but there were times where I was doing a quest and I did exactly what the quest said and it didn't progress it, which was super weird.
It's a weird game. Like you're just like always jumping on the beast you're fighting and like holding on to him.
Yeah.
And, like smacking them while you're holding on or whatever.
It's so weird. But I mean, I enjoyed it enough to play it for almost 90 hours. And so it's a decent game.
Yeah.
Maybe I just played it for 90 hours because it was $70. I don't know. But yes, there's like 10 different classes to choose from. There's like magic archers, as you just saw on the screen, and hand to hand, and very unique. It's a cool game. That's all.
Yeah. I agree. It was cool to watch. I got a PlayStation VR 2 this year, and I think the game I've been most impressed by that I hadn't already played on my original PlayStation VR is Pistol Whip. And so I just wanted to give it a shout out. I think it's an excellent game. Feel a little bit like John Wick. You're basically kind of in Guitar Hero fashion, except you're moving down the track going forward, and then there's all these dudes shooting at you while songs are like happening, and you have to dodge and shoot. And if you can do it in beat with the music as well, you get extra points. So it's kind of got that high score chasing vibe along with lots of moving. Devin fell over playing it. I did have as well. You have to move quite a bit, but very, very fun VR game. So that's my number 6 this year, Pistol Whip.
Number 6 for me is not popping up. So hold on.
It's a Devin game through and through, though. Another horror one that I actually want to play this one. I think it's like not super scary. So I think, I mean, it's definitely scary, but
yeah, I kind of wish that it was scarier, to be honest.
Here, I'll just search
you
it.
Just search it. That's here. Perfect. Wow.
Here it is.
It was Silent Hill 2. I was very, very stoked for this game. Some people say it has a fantastic story and a lot of amazing lore, and I don't hardly remember the story, but I got through it, and we did it on, I think, the hardest difficulty and found all the puzzles. Pretty much solved everything. Went through it almost an entire second time. I don't know why I can just live in that vibe. There it was, right there. It popped up.
Finally came over. It is a cool vibe. Lots of fog, creepy things. You're going in dark buildings often.
Yeah, weird things. Like some of the boss fights were almost not even fight the boss, just avoid the boss for a set amount of time. I think I ran away from like a portrait.
Oh, that's right. Or like a door. What was that?
I was getting attacked by a door.
Yeah.
Door picture.
Maybe it's a portrait. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's super weird, but
definitely weird psychological horror stuff in there.
Yes, I enjoyed that game, though. I miss it in a way.
All right, next up for me, lots of puzzle games, lots of indie games for me. Arranger, a role puzzling adventure. I talked about Braid earlier in this episode, and this game has the same artist as the Braid artist, and I think it's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I just think it's wonderful to look at. And then it's just really fun. It's a slide puzzle, but you're moving things around, talking to characters with the slide puzzle, and eventually you get so good at the movement that during these like segments where you could like go down this alley to the right and then up and then right again, you just push left to like wrap around to the other side, and you can start doing it way fast, pushing the opposite direction of the way you would need to go, and you're just like boop, 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 like flipping around the map.
It reminds me of the Emperor's New Groove game I played when I was younger. You wanted to turn the opposite way of every track. So if the track was going right, you had to push left or you would fall off. It was completely mirrored.
Oh, wow.
And that, yeah, I don't know. Anyways.
But yeah, that's kind of how you move around that game fast. Has some fun boss fights, an interesting story. And I already mentioned, like, Very, very pretty. Has some cool like optional puzzles that are quite a bit tougher that you can like figure out. I think it's great. That's a Ranger, a role puzzling adventure. You gotta like puzzle games. It has puzzle right in the title, so I think you get that.
As we're both doing top 10 lists, we've got a bit of overlap here.
Oh yeah,
Because my number 4 or 5, whatever we're on, is Helldivers 2 as well. I mean,
love
do
it.
you want me to pull it up? We don't really need to. We've
it's
seen
alright.
video of it.
I love crossovers. It would be weird if we didn't have any.
Yes. David and I actually played this a lot together.
Yeah, very
And
fun.
it was just a blast. I mean, even if a game is not perfect, being able to play with friends can make a game near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
A weird dive in that game where
That was
it's like an
hilarious.
ultra dive, just like full dive as hard as a human.
my favorite was
possibly
just dive backwards
While you're
'cause you
shooting
keep
forward.
aiming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game's great. All right, next up is I think my number 4, or is it 3?
I think it is number 4.
Okay, number 4
Yep.
for me. Very popular indie game this year is Animal Well. I didn't know what to expect with this one, other than I love the like. It's like, what would you call that kind of pixel art? It's like neon almost, kind of like neon pixel art. You play as this little blob, kind of looks like green Kirby, and this is kind of a Metroidvania game. There's no combat. There are things trying to kill you at times, but you basically just have to avoid them. Um, and you are using the strangest objects to like get to new areas. There's not like a double jump. Instead, you get a bubble wand that shoots bubbles, and then you can jump on the bubbles, or like this frisbee item that just the coolest, some of the most inventive Metroidvania like unlocking of new areas of a big interconnected map I've ever seen. I think it's very, very special. I hope that this guy it was made by one person. His name's Billy Basso. I hope he made a ton of money, and I am very excited for his next game, even if it's not a sequel to Animal Well. I just think it was so good. So that's my number 4, Animal Well.
My number 4 is another crossover. I think this was Dave's maybe number 7.
Yeah, you
Or
actually
something.
beat this one though.
I did. I destroyed this game. Actually, this game destroyed me, but we found the right build to finally get through the end game and beat every side boss. We left no stone unturned. I
Very
enjoyed
impressive.
this game for its unique mechanics. Its unique builds that could be changed at any time,
Mm-hmm.
and like freezing or fire rings or self-healing or different stances. Also cool that it was made by Game Science.
Yeah, in China.
And yeah, very, very unique Souls-like game. It really was. Some of the areas in this game were so cool. I went in Santa's backpack, fought a monkey in there. We like shrunk down and I was like fighting him inside his decor for his house.
Hmm.
It was way weird.
I didn't get that far.
Yeah, super cool game. I
Good,
think
good.
it has to be mentioned for me because it
Oh
was
yeah,
amazing.
it's so good. Even though I haven't finished it, like I was so like impressed by it. I was just like, yeah, this has to be on there. All right, number 3 for me is another like indie darling this year. Balatro is just an absolutely great card game. If you like cards in any fashion, this game is kind of loosely based on poker, but not really. It's just based on poker hands like flush and run and 2 pair and stuff. And then you're getting these crazy jokers that add like multipliers, and you're between each round you go to a shop and you can buy upgraded cards, discard cards from your deck. So it's a deck building game where you're trying to make a deck that really goes and specializes in one way. One of my favorite decks is called the checkered deck, and it starts with only 2 suits. So it has, I think it's just diamonds and spades. So it doesn't, because of that, when I play with that deck, I focus on flushes, because a flush is 5 cards of the same suit. Since there are only 2 suits, much more likely than with a normal deck where you have 4 suits. Anyway, so you can play with all kinds of different decks, and you're purging cards and turning cards into glass or getting. It's just so good. It's on every device imaginable. It's on Apple Arcade. You can play it on your phone, on your iPad. It's on PC. It's on PlayStation. Just just play it.
And you know it's good when it's in the running for like game of the year.
It's so good. I
Truly.
love Balatro. So that's my number 3.
I'm excited about my number 3. We've already talked about it today, but this is such a, once again, I'm always using the word nostalgic game for so many people, but I was introduced to it in 2024, and I
9 years later
am obsessed with the aesthetic and the feel of this game. I could just squeeze it.
It's a cool vibe.
It is. It's so interesting, and turning your Pip-Boy radio on and just hearing the same 30 songs in a row, but just immersing yourself in this weird world and then deciding if you want to make a home or a base or not. Some people are very strict with inventory management and don't throw that away. I'm like, no, I'm just going to ditch everything and just, you know, you can play it in so many different ways. Everyone's experience would be different. I love it. I don't know. You put me in that aesthetic and I'll live there forever.
Yeah, very cool. I like how open and free it is. It's a bit too big for David.
Ooh,
it's overwhelming.
Yep, sometimes the size is a bit much.
All right, my number 2 has already been mentioned. Another crossover, Devin. This is one we've played together quite a bit too. This is Vampire Survivors. The only game I've played this year that every single person I've played it with has loved it, including all of my kids and my wife. My wife is not huge into video games anymore. Well, she never really has been, but this one, again, like Devin said, you can play with one hand, and it's just fun. You're running around and like shooting weapons everywhere, and skeletons are popping up, and you're killing them, and then every like 20 seconds, you get an upgrade, and you got to pick what that upgrade is. Is it a new weapon or a new passive, or are you just making a weapon stronger? Eventually, you might get lucky and get a chest that has 5 upgrades in it, and what a fun feeling that is. And by the end of the level, which range from like 15 to 30-minute levels, unless you're playing them on double speed, there's so much going on. You really do have to focus on like your build being optimized correctly, or else you won't win if you're not making smart decisions. So it is fun and rewarding because you get to make good decisions, but doesn't have like a high skill ceiling, really. You could be slightly better at like dodging enemies than someone else, and that will help you. But even if you're not, if you can just move your character a little bit, you can play this game just fine. And so
you could even set your upgrades to RNG, like, and probably have some Unreal builds. Yeah,
for sure. And it's fun. There's last little shout out I want to give to it is I cannot believe how much content is in there for $5.
My goodness, yeah. You'd have to play on like 500 rounds or more to get everything.
I'm almost at 60 hours in the game, and I'm close to the platinum. But even once I have the platinum, then there's still like 40 more trophies I can get for each of the expansion packs. And so there's a lot. It's just great. $5, well spent.
Oh, this is making me nostalgic and kind of sad remembering these games.
Good year.
Yeah, a lot of these games I streamed, and I remember the moments. My number 2 is Lies of P. This is kind of like a Souls-like game. I think everybody knows what it is. But the game was beautiful. What a weird thing. You're like a puppet. You're basically Pinocchio in a way, aren't you? I can't remember.
So. Yeah.
Something like that.
Geppetto's a main character as well.
But once again,
cool vibe.
Oh my gosh, the vibe is so cool. The bosses are cool. The bosses are manageable, if that's a word. Once you understand the game, you can do so much with the game. You can take a lantern and put the butt of a shovel on a lantern.
Yeah, weapons are very customizable.
Yeah, a lot of customization, really cool places. I never felt like I was doing the same thing twice like I have in a lot of other Souls games.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, here's the exact same stuff. You have a prosthetic arm with multiple abilities. Oh my gosh, this game was just so good. I don't even know who made this. NeoWiz?
NeoWiz.
Well, they killed it.
Yeah. I think they have an expansion coming out early next year, which will be exciting. Yeah, I love the vibe as well. I like a choice they made where you can like summon a specter spirit before each boss fight to help you. So if you're overwhelmed by like Souls games, those specters are not like pushovers either. They make the bosses probably half as hard
Mhm.
would be my guess. So I really think anyone can finish this game. I always try to beat the boss without using those if I can, but after a few times, if you just want to finish the game, they at least put a way in there for you.
It's not easy. Remember that swamp monster?
One with like the weird tail.
Oh, he had all the things. He
Yeah,
had
I
like
think
two
so.
little snail eyes, and he'd flip
Yeah,
upside
yeah.
down. And that
Mhm.
guy whooped me 60 times until I whooped him, and then I maybe talked smack to him after.
Yeah, very cool game. That's a fun one. I feel like most people say that is the best Souls-like that wasn't made by From. I think it's pretty well regarded in that way.
I couldn't
All right,
believe
my
it.
number one game of the year is one I'm currently about to finish. I have every trophy except for the 2 ending trophies. Well, and one more I'll have to get on a second playthrough, but this is probably the most, I don't know, well received and popular Metroidvania game this year. It takes place in this cool kind of Japanese vibe where you play as like these animal characters who live in a more advanced world than the ape men. The ape men are people. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's taken a lot of cues from Hollow Knight, even in like the art style with the hand drawn art. Um, but it's really excellent. I like that this game is focused on parrying. So it kind of feels like you took Hollow Knight, mixed it with Sekiro, and it even doubles down on the parry like really hard, where there are unblockable attacks, and eventually you upgrade your parry in a way where you can hold the parry, and if you really commit to the parry, you can even parry an unblockable attack. And so it really rewards and basically can only be played in that way, where like you've got to learn to parry, or you're not going to do good at this game really, which might be a turnoff to some people. It does have 2 difficulty modes, so I do think anyone could play it because story mode is vastly easier, like incredible, like way easier than normal mode. Normal mode is brutal. There's like no invincibility between. Usually, when you get hit, you have like a second where you're invulnerable and can't take damage again. In this game, you don't. You can get hit, and then a second enemy is also swinging his sword, and they'll just ping pong you. You're like boom, 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 boom. You get hit 4 times, and you're dead. So it can be pretty punishing, but it's really cool. I like that the story is more clear than a game like Hollow Knight that is a little more obscure. It takes a little bit of the game to get to that clear point, but it does get there. Skill tree's cool. The characters are really cool. Yeah, can't say enough good things about this one. It's just excellent. I'm sad to basically I'm at the final boss and I'm sad to be there. But it's been so good that I'm okay with it. 9 Souls, super excellent. That's my number 1 game that I played in 2024.
My number 1 didn't come out in 2024, but recent enough, and it's fantastic.
And it did have 1 or maybe 2 of its big expansion packs come out this year. So I think
it's had 3 almost, maybe.
I think 1 of them came out last year, and the other 2 came out this year.
Okay.
But
that's Remnant 2. If you haven't played Remnant, you should give it a chance because it's very, very deep, and there's almost an unlimited number of unlockables or things to achieve. For example, you have to go to a specific area at a specific time of day and be wearing specific rings. And all of this is found via YouTube. If you really want to get into the game, I have spent more time on this game than any game we've mentioned today. It's so deep, and you can just make the coolest, complex, yet simple enough builds to make it so fun. People call it a Souls-like with guns, and it feels like that in a way. It really does. Mm-hmm. It's just epic. You know, you're just it's so good. I don't know.
I like that it's built for co-op too. Like it seems like that was their intent. Like we want you to play this with 1 or 2 of your friends. You can play it solo, but it seems like it's, in my opinion, it's definitely best with another person.
I used to play it solo, and I would join random people's lobbies, and if I knew secrets about where they were, I would go over to them and like take off my whole outfit or like crouch, just like bounce up and down. And they were like, "What's this guy doing?" And I'd like shoot at their feet and like tell them to, because there wasn't a quick chat.
Interesting.
And so I'm trying to communicate with movement and my attire, and I'd make them put the same outfit as me on because we had to wear it in a specific area or something. And it was fun to like teach people the game with no words. And they're like, whoa, we just unlocked a secret we didn't know about from this guy that never talked to us.
Yeah.
And
I'd almost, this is a weird like analogy, but I'd almost say this game is kind of, if you mixed Helldivers and Elden Ring, like you almost get there kind of. It's probably a little more skewed towards Elden Ring because it can be tough, and like you do have to like focus on dodging and like working together as a team. But there's almost like that fun vibe of like we're just hanging out at the same time and like trying to get better loot, and almost Borderlands mixed with
you
Elden
can.
Ring. Maybe.
I think there's at least 4 difficulty levels. You can play it very casually and then test yourself.
Yeah.
Say I made this build with these rings and these weapons and these perks. Let's see if we can ramp up the difficulty and win, because it is not easy to beat. I don't know if it's Apocalypse is the difficulty they call.
Yeah, I think so.
The top one. To beat some of those scenarios takes all 3 people in your group being near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. It's a fantastic game. I hope they make a 3rd one. I don't know if they are.
I felt like that one was pretty successful, I think.
Oh,
I don't know
I
for
hope
sure.
so. It should have been. It was so fun.
So I hope they will too. That team, Gunfire Games, man, I feel like they make good stuff. This game seemed like I really love the first Remnant, but it seemed like a little janky.
Yeah.
This one seems more polished and like they're slowly getting better. So I can only imagine what like a Remnant 3 would be like.
Yeah, I think this one is easier than the first. I have never played a boss for so long in my life than I did in the first Remnant game.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some very tough spots in that one. A little less forgiving. Well, that's cool, Devin. That was your number 1, right?
That was a number 1.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this top 10, which was really my top 10, Devin's top 10s. And then we also had 20 honorable mentions. So that was a top 40 for you of the best video games that we played this year. Again, they didn't all come out this year. We're always trying to catch up and, play whatever our hearts desire. But those are the games that we loved this year. So that's going to do it for this top 10 list here on Super Game Brothers.